and welcome back to Point Blank. Tonight we are on the topic of volunteering, and of course in our studio there is Jasemin. Just now I got it wrong, but this time around, Jasemin and Elaine, of course, and they are all very active volunteers.
That's right. And since we are on the topic of volunteering, did you actually know that one of the men who's been accused of lighting one of Australia's most recent, deadliest wildfires actually used to serve as a volunteer fireman?
Unbelievable.
How ironic.
Okay, you might have heard about the recent forest fires that devastated the Australian state of Victoria, but how much do you really know about the impact of such irresponsible actions on our ecosystem and subsequently our lives? After all, it really isn't just resources that are at stake.
Yes, so I actually spoke to the Animal Concerns Research and Education Society, or ACRES, yesterday, and Louis, the organization's executive director, was kind enough to show me how every individual, even kindergarten kids, right, can help in preserving and protecting our ecosystem.
And more importantly, our pretty Celene also spoke to him about how ACRES goes about ensuring that their volunteers continue to commit to the organization on a long-term basis, and why ad hoc volunteers may be preferred under certain unusual circumstances instead. So let's take a look.
Being a volunteer myself before I started this, I realized that with a lot of groups, volunteers are not really an emphasis or focus for them, where you just volunteer there and for the day and then you just leave after that. That isn't really, like you're saying, a stake in the place. So what we've done with the rescue center here is we have devoted one whole block just across the path there for volunteers. It's called, and it's adopted by Southwest CDC. It's a place for volunteers to rest, relax, in between, during, after the volunteering session. We have a lounge area, we have a TV, a radio, we have a wildlife library, we have a serving food area. And if they want to take it further, we have 5 bedrooms. So if they volunteer a whole week, they can stay here a whole week. And there's shower facilities as well. But what we wanted to do was to, again, move beyond the norm, where we didn't want volunteers to just come here, cut the food, clean the sheep, feed the animals and go home. But to have this place as more or less a second home. It's an area where, this place is where they can rest and relax, where they can meet new friends, make new friends, and hopefully in the long term that will get them to volunteer here on a more regular basis, because they can come here together with their friends. Because we have a whole volunteer program, but if you realize we have a training program, but we don't make it compulsory for volunteers to come back after that, because we feel making it compulsory would more or less it kills the spirit of volunteerism. But our job then is to create a best environment for them, and it's something that they want to come to, and not because it's compulsory. So we have students from a variety of schools like Admiralty Secondary, all the way down to like the kindergarten kids, where they had a little farewell party for their K2, and they decided, okay, we will adopt 5 trees at the rescue center. So they raised $1,000, but we said the same thing, right? We don't just want your money, that's too easy, but how about you get your kids to come and plant the tree that they've adopted? So that way there's a more engagement, and then they put little signs up like, don't cut this tree down, and they will say when the fruits come up, call us back, we want to have a look. So that way they have a stake in this place.
At a personal level, you do feel that this downturn might actually pave the way for new values to emerge in favor of the good old materialism that we are used to as a nation. And you are seeing that action.
I'm confident that it will. That change can happen, and it's happening already. Really, I mean, I can show you more pictures of other youths that, like Samuel. It's just this little kid that one day we received a letter from him with this photo. And he didn't approach us at all. But what he did was we gave a talk at his school, and he decided, okay, I want to raise funds for Acres. And he got his friend's mom, his mom to bake cakes. And they had a little fair, and they sold the little cookies, even got little kids involved. And he raised $400 over for us. And it's just on his own accord. He gave us the money and says, help us to help more endangered species. We've always heard of this, that we have lost all creativity, that we are just a bunch of followers. But from my experience so far, that there are a huge an increasing group of leaders in our youth, and especially that generation that is really going to bring Singapore forward. We also have a separate team of undercover volunteers, so they go into the wildlife trade, they pose as buyers to try and determine the levels of trade, of illegal trade here in Singapore. So we have like this volunteer that's posing as a buyer, trying to buy bear gallbladders. It's completely illegal to sell, to buy. But if you can see, this shop is offering us, it's a whole intact bear gallbladder. So to get this, they have to kill the bear just to get this product. So like this is an Australian snake neck turtle, which this shop is offering to our volunteer. So we get all these footages, we get all the reports done up, we pass it to the Agri-Food and Veterinary Authorities so that for them to do their enforcement work. And this is quite an important aspect of our work. With volunteers as well, this one we want ad hoc because we don't reuse the volunteers so that they can never get caught by the traders. But I think it's nothing James Bond-like, but volunteers, I think they quite enjoy doing this kind of work.
Okay, well, I think what Icarus is doing is really to make volunteering a long-term commitment.
Yeah.
And of course, Elaine, you have been volunteering for 10 long years.
Yeah. How do you stay committed?
Yes,
and how do you inspire your fellow volunteers to do likewise?
I work for many different organizations. So when I haven't stayed committed to one organization over 10 years. So I guess maybe I'm not that good an example.
But you still stay on volunteering.
Yes, I enjoy
So the
doing
trick is
volunteer
to
work.
hop around.
No. No, I don't think so. I think the trick is doing what you like and feeling like you can make a difference. So as long as I felt like the organization needed me and I had the time to do it, I would stay and do it. I think that's what makes people stay. When you start forming a bond with your organization and the people you work with, and then after that, it's difficult to leave because you're friends with the children, and whether you're the big sister or the play mom, you don't want to leave them anyway.
So would you agree with Louis that creating a stake within the organization is important in allowing volunteers to stay on for long?
Definitely.
How else do you intend to do that for your own organization?
Well, I just started with this organization, so I can't say. Really, we have no. Actually, the plan is to have a full-time staff for the foundation on top of the volunteers. So there are two different types of people: who will work and stay committed and share the vision of the foundation, as well as volunteers that will come. And I think you need to expect volunteers will come and go. I mean, it's normal. People have workload and they have family commitments that they can't always let go of, and it's taking what they can give and giving them the opportunities and the projects that they can work on as and when they can, being flexible about it. Because these people are volunteers after all, so you can't be, you have to be here at 9 o'clock and do this, and I have this deadline that you have to meet. It's a different type of relationship you have to have with a volunteer.
That's true. And for Jasemin, you have been working, volunteering at Make-A-Wish for like 1 year plus.
Yeah.
How long do you see yourself, volunteering there?
If I can, I'll volunteer with them for, until the day I pass away, because I really like Make-A-Wish because one thing, they give me a lot of flexibility. We have over 200 plus volunteers. So for every case, they'll check whether, we're available. Does our time permit? Because like what Elaine saying, most of us have, daytime jobs. So as long as our time permits, we'll call them up, okay, we can take up a case, and then we'll partner up with someone, and then we are, on our way.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was just wondering, if volunteers come and go, what happens to the beneficiaries actually? Do they feel like an emotional attachment that is being pulled away?
Well, in that sense, we leave it to the individual volunteers on how they want to bond with the child. Because every child is different, and also every volunteer is different how they want to build a bond with them. So in that sense, it's pretty much an individual decision. Yeah.
Okay. How about your experience?
Yeah, Elaine, because I understand that, I spoke to this volunteer who, used to volunteer overseas quite a lot, and she mentioned that, it's not, when you're overseas, you're tempted to give, for instance, sweets to those kids over there in third world countries. But the thing is, what a lot of volunteers don't realize is when you leave, what happens? What if the country is deprived of proper healthcare, medical healthcare facilities? Then how are they going to be able to take care of their dental health, for instance? Things like that. Negative long-term impact of some short-term actions of these volunteers. Have you experienced things like that before?
And I think part of the work of a magazine like this, Humanity, is to educate people on how they can do volunteer work. So the projects that are out there and how we can make a long-term sustainable difference in the environment. And I know people go away and they go with sweets and they give it to children, or they give away money, and it's actually not good because it doesn't help the people help themselves. And I think there's some fundamentals about volunteering and helping people that we need to know before we just go in on the ground.
Yeah, correct. And actually one of the, should I say excuse or reason for volunteers to not keep going back or to not even take up volunteering, it's no time. Singaporeans are very busy people. So is that a convenient excuse, you think?
I don't think that is a good enough excuse. It all depends. It all boils down to whether you want to do it.
Right,
Because we
okay.
make time, right?
Jasemin, what's your working hours?
I work normal, like most of you, 9 to 6.
I already forgot what's normal.
That's not
9 to 6,
normal.
Monday to
That's
Friday.
not normal for us.
Yeah, that's not normal.
It really is whether you want to make that time.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, I like volunteering so much. It's not a chore or a work to me. It's part of my lifestyle now. Yeah.
How much do you volunteer a week?
I try to volunteer as much as I can. So for each of our wishes, it ranges from 1-2 months to a few weeks. Yeah, but it's the engagement throughout the whole process, the whole creative process. It's the fun. Yeah, it's really fun.
Okay, so does your boyfriend complain that you have no time for him?
Are you actually married to a volunteer as well? So you guys volunteer
Not
together?
yet.
Okay, boyfriend.
Okay.
Okay, so if you want her number, please leave your comment below. We get it for you, yeah.
We do have a lot of very nice volunteers with Make-A-Wish. Very nice, bubbly, active people, very enthusiastic. It's a good bunch.
Okay, you just name all your characteristics, right? Okay, how about for you?
About time? Well, I am quite flexible with time because I'm a yoga teacher and I teach. My time is my own. And I just started with this organization. I think we need a lot of time to get started up, so I'm spending a bit more time than maybe I have. So when I used to work and I had a full-time job in the corporate world like Jasemin, what I actually did, I started volunteering then because I was teaching at the AWA school. It's a school for handicapped children. They actually needed a commitment and to be fair to the children. So you sign up for a term or for a year, and it's during school hours. So I took a pay cut, and then I took one day off work every week to teach, and that was great. I mean, I had a class to call my own, and I worked with them. Finding the time is, we want to do things that make us happy. And so if it makes you happy, you will find the time to do it anyway. So there's nothing to make excuses about because it shouldn't be an obligation. I think we give because we naturally want to give.
Well said, well said. Well, when we come back later, we will listen to what the man on the street thinks about volunteering. Yeah, got no time, no time.